This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website for creatives to build a beautiful portfolio and build an income for your creative lifestyle, all in one place and on your own terms. For Arttober this year, I've been devoting time every day to practice my digital art skills by making a small, fully colored piece of basically whatever I want to draw that day. This includes a lot of self-indulgent work, including more art exploring my original characters. Over time, I have noticed a growing trend in my comment section whenever I post my characters. There's always one or two users, or more, depending on the exposure of the post, comparing my characters to other artists' characters or from TV shows, movies, books, etc. And over time, I sort of find myself getting a little annoyed from these comments. Then again, I think I should be grateful that they're interacting with my posts at all and helping engagement, and that they probably don't mean any harm. I'm just excited to make connections between media and artists they like. After all, posting my artwork online is my choice, and if I don't want these comments, I should just ignore them or stop posting my characters, right? I've been messaging a mutual of mine, Sam, or @Sam on Instagram, an amazing comic artist who posts a lot of his original character work online and also deals with the same thing. In his experience with character comparison, he says, quote, "Sometimes their comparisons are absolutely wild and don't even make sense. And so many artists have protested about it, but commenters still go for it." He also told me to tell you guys that he's really cool and definitely not an art gremlin, so check out his work. But anyways, that brought me to asking you guys on my Instagram story. I wanted to hear from as many point of views as possible, so this video will just be going over those opinions and experiences as I work on a couple projects in the studio. Feel free to draw along with me and leave your own opinion or experience as an artist or viewer in the comments down below. Spoiler alert, there's really no right opinion about this. I do have my own preferences, but this is just a video to explore the topic of comparison in the art community and how it affects artists. I recognize that every artist will feel differently about this, so make sure to be respectful in the comments, and above all else, I would just really love to hear from fellow artists and their experiences. So let's start off with some good old-fashioned positivity. I won't be mentioning any usernames in order to prevent unwanted traffic to accounts and to keep things as safe as possible. So on my Instagram, I asked people how they felt about if they posted their original characters or original artwork online, how they felt about getting comments that were comparing their characters to other characters, or how they felt about their artwork or characters being compared to other media or TV shows or books. And one user responded stating that, quote, "If the character looks cool or the art style is awesome, it makes me feel great." And similarly, another user said, quote, "I love it. If it's a favorite character or media of mine, I get so excited, and most of my stuff is inspired by what I love anyway, so it's not an issue to me." End quote. It's really great to hear positivity and excitement coming from commenters connecting certain media to your work. I think it can be really affirming as a beginner artist, or if you're experimenting with your work, and hearing that it reminds others of artists or media that you really admire and even draw inspiration from. Especially as beginner artists striving to improve their skills and hone their craft. People being able to read and recognize the themes in your work is super exciting and reflect that all of your studying is paying off. It feels like you are kind of beginning to build connections with a potential audience through your characters, and that can be really exciting and really cool to see people interact with your work. Another user says, quote, "I actually really like the comparison because it allows me to find new content." End quote. I think this is also super helpful as well. Sometimes it's cool to receive comments comparing the work you created to books, movies, shows, giving you recommendations to explore certain themes, tropes, or environments to help inspire more artwork. As someone who often gets stuck in their own head and clings to the same 20-year-old media, it's refreshing to be recommended new content to keep the art block away and spark new ideas for what you're exploring. When I was first developing my cowboy character, Strawberry Saw and Blueberry Bill, a lot of my friends recommended me to listen to the soundtrack of Red Dead Redemption and even watch some gameplay. And it ultimately really helped me to get into the mood and really start to feel out the characters and the world. And I even discovered one of my now favorite artists of all time, Orville Peck, through comparison and recommendations of my art. Now that music is basically a staple in my listening sessions when I want to draw those characters, and I find that music just super inspirational in general. I acknowledge that sometimes it can be a little annoying for some people to be constantly giving you recommendations or ideas for your characters when you already have something in your mind and like you're set on something else. But I personally find it really helpful and insightful when people give me recommendations when I'm in the development of a character or a world. Moving on, this user says that, quote, as an artist, it doesn't bother me. It's harmless, if annoying, and shows people are invested in your OCs. While I don't agree it's entirely harmless, we'll get into that later, but I do feel like comparison is building a form of a connection between you and the commenter. Them making the effort to point out a similarity between your character and the character they love could translate into more demand for your own characters and could possibly open up a conversation where you could explain more about your own characters so that they become more distinct from the surface level assumptions. So, for example, your character might look and dress like a popular movie character, and that might attract the fandom of that movie or something. And then once you start to show more of their personality and background and give more insight on that character, they'll begin to become independent from that comparison, but still maintain a connection to that original audience. Another user says, quote, it's never a bad thing, but a form of appreciation. Or, quote, I think that often people who say things like this don't mean it in a bad way, end quote. I don't think I agree that it's never a bad thing, but I do recognize that viewers make comparisons sometimes as a way to compliment or show some positive feedback. Kind of like your character reminds me of something else that I think is really cool, which may be a more indirect way of praising your work, but that might be their way of saying that your art is really cool and thinking comparing your character or work to a more established or popular media would be overall positive. And it really just depends on how the artist views that media and feels when their work is compared to something else. If they really like the media that you're comparing their work to, it could be high praise. But if they despise or don't really care about the media, then it could be seen as a little insulting or annoying. I also want to mention another point a user made, that sometimes younger artists or commenters using a second language might have a more difficult time describing what they like about a work, and they could default to comparing it to something else they might enjoy in order to express a general positive feeling about your work. In a growing your art account and following/business context, people commenting and finding a connection in your art to more mainstream media often improves your post engagement. The discourse in your comment section signals to the platform that more people are engaging with the post, and therefore your post will be shown to more people over time. A social media platform's main goal is to keep users on the site, and if your post content or artwork inspires more people to comment and build connections to the things they love or enjoy, then most of the time they're staying for longer on the platform. So the algorithm is going to continue to push that post to more users. That's why creators are always asking to, quote, engage with their content by commenting, liking, and sharing to improve their post reach. All in all, I don't think people who comment comparisons ever really mean to do harm, but artists interpret and internalize those comparisons differently, and that can be in a negative way as well. But before we move on to the bad experiences of comparison, if you clicked on this video, you're probably really passionate about the art you make and want to continue to share with your audience and expand beyond the clutches of the social media algorithms. You're going to want a place to share it professionally and build your name as an artist, so I'd like to introduce the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace has so many clean and customizable templates to choose from to get started right away. And if you're really itching to get started with building your own online shop and turning your art into physical products like stickers, prints, bags, and even shirts, Squarespace's built-in print-on-demand services will save you the time, money, and headache of keeping all of your own inventory and figuring out shipping. I personally plan on moving my sticker shop to my new site, and Squarespace has enabled me to become more organized with the revenue with my future shop updates with their sales tax extension, as well as streamlining a lot more of my shop organization with their optimized and easy to set up product listings. I'm looking forward to launching my site soon, and if you'd like to do the same, you can check out www.squarespace.com/sketchesofshay to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using my code sketchesofshay. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel, and thank you for continuing to watch my videos and giving me the opportunity to get more sponsors like this. Now, back to the video. Some artists don't feel as positive as what we previously discussed, and comparison often makes them uncomfortable, disheartened, or annoyed that their work is labeled as something else and not standalone stories or pieces. Long viewers of this channel are probably familiar with a fellow art content creator and good friend, Static, from the channel and Instagram account Static Wolf. She posts a lot of fan work and original character work online, and I really wanted to share the insight that she gave me. Quote, "It makes me uncomfortable. I can't tell if they're just comparing that they're similar or subtly trying to say they think I copied a character or parts of a character. And even if they don't mean this, it still feels weird and then just has me constantly comparing my character to this other one, and then I worry about accidentally doing things in the future that's too similar. It makes me paranoid and that people won't see my character as their own being. I know a lot of people do it innocently, but it does feel like they don't care if they offend you or not. Especially since I've had one of mine compared to a character that's weird or just not likable. It's really hard not to be insulted. I understand that some people make comparisons as a point of reference to what they know, especially if it's something they love, but it can make it feel less unique to the creator and can make it difficult to go forward without feeling like you're copying it, even if you aren't. Thank you, Static, for sharing in depth about your experience. I really appreciate you taking the time to write that out. Even with seeing the benefits and appreciating the enthusiasm some users make with their comments comparing the art to something else, I do have to say I often find myself in the similar mindset of Static. I want to be appreciative of people engaging with my work and finding connections in it. I think that's really cool, and that's part of why I am an artist, but sometimes it can be annoying. Like this one user said, quote, "It irks me. Like, I'm glad you feel a connection, but they're completely different." End quote. That's pretty much my sentiment sometimes when I post my original characters or original artwork. Being a full-time artist, it feels great, and it's beneficial career-wise to have that engagement that people are connecting with your work, and that connection brings more opportunities and possible clients or supporters of your work. But I think when that connection is built on like a false premise that they view your work or characters as part of something else or in reference to something else that you didn't mean, it becomes possibly a little frustrating or feels just strange in general. But then again, I mentioned in a previous video, I think it was like the bacon draw or something, that above all else, I personally want my audience to make their own decision and own interpretations of my artwork. I can guide them with my own captions and even with the symbolism or body language of the illustration or character, but I think it's personally up to the viewer to make an interpretation or connection and just consume and view the artwork in however means that feels comfortable and right for them. However, I think that the frustration arises when I see the surface level content of the work, an example like the character design, similarity, or setting, explicitly being compared to another type of media or story instead of taking the time to build your own interpretation. But also, who am I to tell you how to consume artwork and interpret things? That's why this topic is so hard for me to make a solid stance on. Making art and experiencing art is so subjective to each individual artist and each individual viewer. Quote, "I find that comparison comments are a bit pointless, and instead most artists would prefer actual feedback such as compliments and etc." End quote. I understand this point if someone just comments, "I thought this was so-and-so," or "this looks like insert character name here," or just comments the character name. That can be a bit hard to respond to, and it's much harder to build a discussion off of. With comments like this, I typically just ignore them, especially since most of the time I have no idea who they are referencing. Another quote says, "I think it shows that people like to simplify characters to 2D stereotypes. It's frustrating to see such a widespread lack of willingness to engage with nuance and complexity, especially when knowing how much time and care artists put into developing OCs." I feel like this is kind of like good old human nature popping out. We want to understand or categorize things, so we immediately slap a label on it to describe what we're seeing to keep things simple and easy. And I think this is what I was trying to hint at when describing my own feelings about how I want people to engage with my work. I really appreciate people engaging with my work, but when it's just comments that the characters look like someone else, it's not as interesting or fun as the artist making that work. Quote, "It's similar to the K-pop fan scenario where every other East Asian somehow looks like their favorite idol." And another similar quote, "Even if it's not the intent, parentheses, to annoy or reduce the artist's concept, it can just feel like an ignorant comment sometimes." And I feel like this is a really great thing to point out, but there was like a response earlier that mentioned that comparisons were harmless, and these comments prove that there can be harm when making comparisons between an artist's work and media. It's not really my place to say and to share my experience with this, but I want to bring awareness to possible harmful or stereotyping comparisons that are made based on a character's appearance, race, or ethnicity. Please let me know what your experiences are down below if you face this type of comparison. And this can also be comparisons based on like sexuality or gender identities, like basically comparing two characters and automatically thinking they're the same or similar just because they identify in the same way. I feel like that can be a little problematic. If you have experience with that or have something to share in the comments down below, I would love to hear from you. Quote, "It often feels like it's people trying to push their fandom," end quote. I haven't fully experienced this when I post online, but I don't doubt that people can become more aggressive and enthusiastic with their commenting, especially if like a reel blows up and the comment section gets out of hand. It can really seem like they're just assuming that the work you're doing is fan art, and that can be a little annoying. But comparison, regardless of what it is, can lead to a lower valuing of your own artwork or capabilities or your view of yourself as an artist online. Quote, "Makes me wonder if my design was generic depending on how popular the comparison was, or that you need to improve. While it's great to receive feedback online about your work, like it can be really helpful to improve a lot more quickly. Sometimes that feedback can make you feel worse about your work. Once again, these comparisons can sometimes do harm rather than the good that the original commenter intended. We become insecure in our own voice and skills as an artist, fearful that our characters are just labeled as a dupe of another." But one comment that I received made a great reminder about our own passions of creating and making our own characters. Quote, "Our value is not intrinsically linked to being able to create perceived, unique characters," end quote. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Originality is overrated. We all take inspiration and direction from the things around us. Taking inspiration does not invalidate our personal voice and creativity as individual artists. Art history is basically proof of that, with years of artists referencing back to their predecessors and expanding how we view art and the world. While this remains true in the context of your own work and characters and people making comparisons based off of what you share online, it can still be disheartening. Like, there's still an emotional aspect. It can still be disheartening or annoying to share the exploration or development of a character only for it to be simplified into a surface level comparison to other media that's come before it or that is popular at the time. Feels like you're labeling the work or characters and chucking them into a category or a genre before it can breathe and become its own thing. But then again, we don't make art in a vacuum. Humans thrive off of making connections and pulling inspiration from the world around us. We like to give things a label so that we can better understand and categorize what we're seeing. I understand why there's a motivation or a want to comment on posts and make a connection, but when it becomes more frequent and harder to moderate on the artist, and it just seems like a bunch of people from a fandom are flooding your comments and only wanting to talk about that fandom. Sometimes artists also feel neutral towards the idea. When I put that poll on my Instagram, or that question and answer thing on my Instagram, I got a lot of people who said it really depended on the situation or the media that it's being compared to, and the frequency of that comparison. Basically, this is probably like, you could already guess this, but a lot of people said if it was media you liked, it was a good comparison, but if it was media you didn't like or didn't care about, it was annoying or offensive. Or that it was okay, it happened once or twice, but constant comparison and a steady stream of comments making the same comparison and only seeing your work as part of another media tends to be very annoying. Furthermore, I think the last response I want to mention for this video is that humans seek to tie things together and relate them, so that's all it is to me. Like, oh, that relates to this thing. I can't speak for all artists, but I create art and post it online, not just for my own enjoyment, but to hopefully connect and find the people that will resonate with and enjoy what I make, and for me to find the artists I resonate with and admire myself. I think it's only natural to begin to see people make their own connections and engage with your work in ways they know how. Yes, there may be some expansion in the way we just engage with art on the surface level, or maybe there's no need to. Maybe that's just how you like to enjoy artwork, and that's fine. I don't think there's one right way to enjoy artwork, but I think there's always room to dig deeper and be respectful of the artist's vision or intention. Even as these social media platforms become more and more like a marketplace full of ads, it feels like every other post on Instagram is an ad for something, but it still first and foremost was a platform to build instant connections wherever you are in the world. People support my art from countries I'll probably never be able to visit in my lifetime. It's so amazing to be able to transcend that distance and share my work and know that so many people can enjoy it. And I think the main takeaway is that because we're so connected online and in our personal lives and the things we experience and just being human, there's no way to be 100% original, and you shouldn't place such a high standard on yourself to be completely original. One of you guys said, quote, "I don't think I mind comparison because I'm able to recognize the subconscious influence media has on my characters and even create some to emulate a specific trope," quote. And another quote says, "I used to get very defensive, but now I just recognize I can never be 100% original," end quote. Taking inspiration from your favorite stories or characters isn't a bad thing. I think it's natural and it's healthy, and it's a great thing to do to learn and to grow and be a part of your creative process. Being inspired and exploring themes that are popular in society or relevant to you personally can be extremely fulfilling and help you discover more complexities and paths you can explore creatively in the future. Like I said before, we don't exist in a vacuum. Our inspirations and influences will come out through our work, and people may draw their own conclusions, and it's up to you to view that result however you want. If you couldn't tell already, this topic is so hard for me to pick a side on as someone who both posts their work online but is also a viewer and wanting to draw a connection to the work I see when scrolling through my feed. Every artist feels differently about being compared to other media or artwork. You can end up feeling so seen and understood by your viewers when they make the connection to the media that you admire or even inspired your work. Or it can be annoying, frustrating, and even disheartening to an artist trying to establish themselves and build a body of work that's standalone and with its share of acknowledged inspirations, but with a personal and more subtle nuance that is continually unrecognized and unacknowledged by a general audience. And that's okay. We can choose to embrace that comparison enthusiastically, to be indifferent, or disclaim we prefer not to receive comparisons like that. People will continue to comment whatever they want. It is the internet, but all in all, I think being a mindful consumer of content and recognizing the artist's vision and making your own commentary in a respectful manner is a great way to form a meaningful connection in the community and form greater bonds with the artist and people around us through our art. And that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching and making it to the end. This was a cool format to try out, and it was really interesting discussing a larger art community related topic. I'm definitely sure that I didn't cover all the nuances and opinions of the situation regarding comparison. So if you have something to share, I would love to hear from you, hear from your experience as an artist, writer, or any type of creator, and how you view the comparison of your work to other media. And thank you so much to everyone who shared their experiences with me over on Instagram. It was so helpful in creating a more holistic, educated, and comprehensive point of view. And I really enjoyed reading all of your experiences. I really love building these spaces for discussion and awareness towards a topic that affects all of us in the art community. And the more we share our opinions, I feel like the greater understanding we have of ourselves as both artists and viewers of art. Like and subscribe if you're interested in more art topics and art content like this. A lot of the work shown in this video I might already posted or will post in the next couple of weeks up on my Instagram or my Ko-fi membership gallery. I typically do a lot of art content on this channel, but I may start doing more deeper discussions like this. I don't know. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. Reminder, if you want to start building your online shop or portfolio, you can check out squarespace.com/sketchesofshay to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using my code sketchesofshay. And another huge thank you to my Ko-fi members for making regular content like this possible and supporting my content and art. If you want early access to videos, sketchbook scans, exclusive stickers sent straight to you every month, or just want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. Shout out to my sticker club members as of October 12th, I believe. Asekias, Air, Alien Kid, Elisa R, Anna's Confused, Artist Life 03, August, Blue Swanson, Brendog, Buckley, Kaylin D, Kanid Courier, Charu, Dasi, Demon Sketchman, Ectoplasm, Lunatic, Emmy, Emily, Emma, Arasu Stuff, Gabriella C, Ghost Pup, Grace, Heather C, Ink Palette Izzy, Jason, Jordan, Julie, Katie, Kent, KP, Crisp Jean, Seams Creates, Laura C, Leslie, Liesel, Liz, Lucas S, Lux, Mads Mar, Max Decided, Mayday V, Mayo, Mika Lika, Moth, Mr. Goat Was Here, Nat, Olive, Olivia, Pilot, Pixie Poo, Red, Ren, Roses Are Purple, Rowan, Ruby T, Seiche, Salem, Salty Goober, Sam, Sarensley, Shay, Shelf Cat, Simon, Sir Night Star, That Gay Otaku Boy, Taito, Ugly Sketchbook, and Witzer. And shout out to my Snickerdoodle tier members too: Big Chungish, Chipu, Cup of Honey, Deandria, Dayon the Cow, Aaron, Catherine F, Lexin A, Lilybell, Mango Dust, Nicole Nader Art, PG Pie Peeps, Rinkanobi, Soft Lesbian, Star Gamer, Tammy, Tasty Battery Acid, Tephoric, Vixen, and Valency. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching until the end. Next week, I have no idea what video is going to be posted next week. But until then, make sure to drink some water, stretch a bit, work on a drawing, and yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.